Welcome back to CBS This Morning. Today marks exactly 6 months since a pro-Trump mob stormed the U.S. Capitol. We all remember that day. More than 500 people have been arrested and hundreds of investigations are still underway. So while some of the physical barriers, they've certainly come down around Capitol Hill, the mental scars remain for many who work there, including the members of Congress. In a story that you'll see here only on CBS This Morning, Nikole Killion introduces us to a group of lawmakers who have developed a shared bond as they try to cope with what happened on that awful day.
Everybody stay down! Get down!
Hearing the insurrectionists.
Just the pounding on the door.
The Capitol Police were locking the doors with us inside. That's where I realized that there was no way out.
Hearing the shots come from the speaker's lobby. And I just remember thinking, oh my God.
6 months later, the memories are still vivid for Representatives Pramila Jayapal, Veronica Escobar, Susan Wild, and Jason Crow, who were among many members trapped in the House gallery January 6th.
How was the gallery group formed?
The very next day we had a caucus call, and I said something about being trapped in the gallery. I mean, I think all of us felt like we had been forgotten up there, and immediately I got just dozens of texts from people saying, I was in the gallery too. Some I knew, Veronica was right next to me.
So Congresswoman Jayapal started a text chain that has evolved into a support group with about 24 lawmakers.
What were some of those initial conversations like for your group?
There were a lot of tears. There was a lot of anger.
What kind of toll has this taken on each of you personally?
I was having some very violent nightmares that were deeply disturbing.
I lost my life partner to suicide just about 2 years ago. I had thought I was past the hardest part of that. What I found out after this was that I hadn't even begun to deal with that.
It was this viral image of Congresswoman Wild and Congressman Crow that triggered flashbacks for him as an Army Ranger in Iraq and Afghanistan.
To be thrust back into that, which I did, I kind of switched back into that mode of being ready to fight and do whatever was necessary to get us out.
I'm a little bit choked up. That picture, I believe, was taken right after I got off the phone with my kids. I think I started to have a panic attack. Jason reached out, took my hand, and started to comfort me that I'll never forget on his part.
Have any of you sought therapy?
The tools that my therapist has given me to deal with the trauma, that has helped me tremendously. It is important to share with people that trauma takes a toll and that there is help out there, that there's no shame in asking for help.
Or having difficult conversations.
For those of us who were people of color, there were different reactions. So take off your member pin.
Take your pins off!
I know I made a conscious decision, as did many of us, to leave the member pin on because it was the decision of, do you want to be recognized by the insurrectionists, or what happens if you take it off and you're not recognized by Capitol Police? And so there were these beautiful moments in the group where there was a recognition of an experience that we didn't have.
But that was the first time in my life that me personally was on the receiving end of the violence of racism in our country. And since that, it has allowed me to understand it in a more visceral sense, instead of just up here, also here.
Where does the gallery group go from here?
It's been a really meaningful group to have and a wonderful support network.
I'll bring a pie to the next gathering.
Promises.
Inside joke.
It's an inside. We have a lot of inside jokes out of that. Jason never brings the pies.
Well, you can see they are a very tight-knit group, and even though they're all Democrats, some have tried to dialogue with Republicans. What's interesting is that this goes beyond therapy. Now they consult each other on just about anything, whether that's legislation or the latest January 6th actions like the Select Committee that was announced last week. Jamie?
A stronger bond. Nikole, thank you. Every time you look at those pictures, though, guys, it really does take you back to that day. And I keep thinking these were Americans against other Americans. I can't get over that.
Yeah.
That shot of them, of Jason Crow holding Susan Wild's hand, I remember that very vividly. I'll never forget
Well,
it.
I think sometimes we forget when you look at Congress people, these are people. And
Exactly
they have
right,
these
Jamie.
backgrounds that
Yes.
it's compounded trauma. And now,
Exactly
you know,
right.
what do you do with it?
What's so terrifying is the complete collapse of order. And just like that, very regimented, there's a process, you're in Congress, and then gone.
At the
in an
US
instant,
Capitol.
At the U.S. Capitol.
I'm glad they have each other.
I'm glad they also have pie.
Well, they
It does
don't.
make everything
No,
better.
Congressman Crow, please bring the pie.